We were born to create. From childhood, we learn to make sounds, make a mess, make things up, and make and build connections. We imagined worlds, and we sought to find our own voice. Yes, we were born to create, and we worked hard. We became artists, musicians, and writers. We see the future and paint our world. Our secrets become our stories or songs to keep for ourselves, share with those we love, or even, if we're lucky enough to be loved, around the world. Even when the future is uncertain, we keep doing what we love because we are all born to create. What you create can shape our future, and the future for you must be protected. When your passion moves people, people move money. It's time for creators to be paid fairly. So to protect what you create and ensure that you can enjoy the rewards of your own unique creative magic, that's when we bring you Starwire. When money moves, you get paid.
That's a good tagline. I like that. That's a good one. Yeah.
And with that, I think that is a really great introduction for our next project, the Starwire project. We have one of the founders, Garnet Campbell, here, and Colin. Or was it Colin? Because I know it's Canadian.
Colin and Wes, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, Colin.
and Wes are there. And they're going to talk to us about their project. And we're just going to jump in and thank you for the great intro video that made my job so much easier. But
I always loved hearing that because that was my daughter doing the voiceover. So
good.
Always proud to see that. And congratulations to Ashtar. I like his new logo, and what you guys are doing here is just fantastic. And so for all the people that are on here that don't know who we are, I can sort of take you through a little short history, if that's okay. How would I share my screen?
I think it's at the bottom. You should see a little computer screen that says share.
There's a monitor that says share, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, share screen.
Is it allowing them, Tim?
I think so, yeah.
There you go.
Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just a little bit of background. Starwire was created. I'm a musician, so I've been touring around the world for 20 or 30 years. And obviously there's some famous people in here like Ringo Starr and Neil Young and whatnot. But I spent 2 decades touring around the world with this guy named Randy Bachman from Bachman Turner Overdrive and the Guess Who. And later, I ended up starting a entertainment company called Imagination Park. And I noticed something when we started to create films and we were starting to do productions. I have this quote: when you can see the future, you can spend all your energy trying to validate your ideas until it finally catches up, or you can take a risk and solve the problem. Well, everything is caught up now, as we were just hearing from your previous guest. But when I first was in Imagination Park, there was a real problem with content management and with intellectual property. So I started a company called Matrix Blockchain Solutions with the specific goal of building applications that could solve real world problems. And Houston, we have a problem. And this is pretty common. I think everybody that's in the business at all knows that a lot of creators just don't get paid fairly for their work. Distributors manually audit film sales. We're going to have Wes talk a little bit about that. We had a problem trying to move money overseas. It was just insane. We're in Canada. I had to drive to the US because we had a film crew in Spain and had to do a bank transfer from Bellingham, Washington, all the way to Spain. It's took a week, and guys were sitting over there trying to get paid. So it's widely known that Hollywood accounting is basically, they make sure that no money's left over to share with the investors or the talent. And we did a Jennifer Garner project, which the same thing kind of happened. And these A-listers want their money all up front because they know if they don't get it up front, they're probably not going to get it on the back end. And so a powerful few control the numbers, and that's common knowledge. But I think our vision was to revolutionize the way that content creators not only get credit for their intellectual property, but to get paid when their work is consumed. Now, this is a novel idea a few years back in 2015, but you can see headlines all around the world about, you know, the guy who played Darth Vader still is not getting paid because Return of the Jedi still isn't profitable. Really?
That's crazy.
You know,
Well, it's a big problem because he died last
Harry
month.
Potter.
So that was, yeah.
It's even a bigger problem for his family and kids.
Yeah.
This one's floating around the internet. I don't have the validation on it or not, but it just goes to show you that you can end up with a $167 million loss, even though it's one of the top grossing films of the decade. And they even published kind of the Hollywood accounting up there. And so I think the point that I'm trying to make is that we need to come up with a solution. And I'm sort of an early adopter of technology like you guys are. And you know, I'm just new to the whole DeFi space, and what you guys are doing, Ray and Vince, is just amazing because I'm learning. I'm just a sponge for this stuff. But when I was first with Imagination Park, one thing we wanted to do was create a blockchain, smart, decentralized platform that always paid you first. Didn't really know how we were going to do it. Just knew that that was the big Pollyanna vision. It's imagine whenever someone orders a movie, boom, everyone gets paid.
Yeah.
And the thing that we can do now with crypto is we can do fractional ownership, not only of content, but to be able to pay staff, and we can allow you know, some of the crew and some of the talent to actually get something from the back end. And Garnet's going to show you our revenue simulator, which is just amazing. But the key behind it was a solution that would take contracts that normally you would get in paper form, and then instantly create a smart contract. It'll spit out the Solidity code, and then you'll be able to have your own wallet for each one of your projects. And so we connected with a group called Block Mason, and we actually built the world's first smart contract builder. And it sort of takes the place of what's you might know as a CAM, or a contracts rights management system like Movie Chainer. And I don't want to get into complications and detail, but we've got all the information on the site that you can look at how the revenues are splits and how you can sort of pay people after a certain amount has been recouped. And the big picture is, you know, connecting talent and money together. And I think Ashtar made a really good point about building a community. And there's so many creators out there and people that are making songs, making films. And it's sad that some of the big majors are making it difficult to navigate. And so I think Garnet's going to talk about a real world solution. But basically, we offered the tools, which we call under the banner of Starwire, to actually help facilitate this. And if you ask us what's
quick question.
Sure.
So as you know, as we get into this, so we have this thing that is Starwire. That's this whole thing, and you're doing this because artists in the whole framework is a bit broken. What's your secret to get adoption? Because if you're going against Hollywood accounting, if you're going against all that, who's going to adopt this? Who's going to take that over? I mean, how are you coming at this from all sides? You've got the partnerships, you've got the technology. How are you coming at getting adoption within the industry?
Well, that's a really good question. And I think one of the things we do have is access. And you're right, these people don't like to, you know, change from status quo. But what's happening is that a lot of the A-list actors and whatnot, they're driving this to be able to say, listen, I want to get paid on the back end. And I'll let Garnet give you an example, because there's an actual film that we were working with which is using the Starwire technology. And so I always like to say, imagine a digital agent like Jerry Maguire. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Show me the money.
It was one of my favorites.
I actually met the real Jerry Maguire when I was on tour, but that's a story for another day. But anyway, what we really want to do, and the big mission overall, is to help people get credit and recognition for their work and then get paid when money moves. That's when you disrupt the industry and you become a superhero. And this is an industry that doesn't like to get disrupted. However, it's at the grassroots level. And one of the reasons that I partnered with Garnet is because he's a teacher in a film academy. And it's all the students. All the students now are learning how to properly create films, how to properly timestamp their assets. This is going to help when they're trying to get funding to be able to use the revenue simulator. So I think the tagline, which is when money moves, you get paid, is really valid, because at the end of the day, whether they're NFTs or whether they're songs or films, we want that intellectual property embedded right in a smart contract so that people can verify the ownership of that content. So I'll stop sharing and let Garnet jump in here a little bit. But any quick questions?
No, that's awesome, Colin. Thanks for, and you said that presentation will be available, that we'll be able to kind of share and get it out there and get it in some community's hands and stuff.
It goes with some stories, because I actually have stories to back up all those slides, which are real life stories that and I think Wes will share one of those too. But that'll be posted on the website. And just like Ashtar's doing with his, we're actually redeveloping and redesigning the Starwire website right from the ground up. So I'm not sure if it's a week or two away, but it will be significantly different, because there's not a whole lot there, because we are still in the development phase. I think we're in version 4 of the product. Okay. And I don't want to steal Garnet's thunder, but it's actually moving along quite well. And the thing is, that's funny, Ray, in the industry, you talk about adoption. Yeah. People don't like disruption unless it solves a problem that they're having. And if it works, they're going to use it. It's just like when Uber came along. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to use Uber instead of a cab. You don't even have to think about it. I'm going to use Zoom, instead of GoToWebinar or something like that. And with Starwire, if you think of WordPress or Wix as building a coded website without you knowing how to use code, Starwire is just going to do all the documentation and contracts without you knowing a stitch of code and spit out a smart contract for the blockchain. And together with the revenue simulator, so you can actually go to your investors and give them a sense of how long in the process it is till they're going to get paid, and then actually have the ability to forecast that using this simple tool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn it over to Garnet, and he can give you some real world examples, I think.
Yeah, take her away. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was a good question of how do we bring adoption. And as Colin said, I am a teacher. I teach at a film school, and it was interesting. I connected with a guy in Holland, and he's an instructor at a business school. And they also teach blockchain at this school in Holland. And he had seen one of our earlier videos of development, one of the development stages of our app. And when he was using that alpha version of the app, he said, Garnet, this is amazing. Is it okay if we use this to teach our incoming students about what blockchain does? Because this is one of the first apps. Like what he said was, a lot of things sort of within the blockchain industry are so abstract or so deeply into the chain. They said this is actually a practical application that we want our business students to learn and know. And of course, in addition to film producers who actually need to use this, I see education taking a product like this into the universities. That's where it begins. with the younger generation learning these tools, open to it. Of course, there will be resistance from, existing business structures to take on, new disruptive technologies. But obviously, it comes through the younger generation, and we're definitely going to be reaching out to them through there. I wanted to share a screen with one of the practical share screen. Yes, your entire screen, sure. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in the bottom corner, there's a film called The Key to Christmas. And up above is the distributor of that film called Vision Films, based out of LA. They have I think over 600 films in their catalog. Very experienced. The Key to Christmas was a local film. I was one of the producers on it. It was very kind of lower budget film, ran into problems during post-production. They had basically ran out of money, needed an extra $20,000 or $30,000 to finish post-production, to finish the film in time for this Christmas. And at that time, we had the alpha version. Alpha version just means it's not out there for beta. We're not giving it out to people yet, but we had our alpha version, and we said, hey, let me talk to a few people and show them your movie and show them, what kind of deal we could make with the contract builder. And we showed it to a few investors. Right away, they got the idea. This is fractional ownership of a film. It's coming out. The distributor was waiting for it. For them, they saw instantly when they would get paid back. They saw when they would double their money. It was laid out in front of them. We didn't need to call a lawyer. We didn't need to call an accountant. It was signed really simply, and it just showed us how powerful and quick we got that film financed. It was on its way this November. It came out on all the Prime online channels, Amazon, iTunes, kind of you name it. And it got done. It's generating, actually we get our first kind of financial report at the end of March here. But that was one example, kind of sort of even before our app is actually completed and out there, of sort of how it works, how it solves that problem. Vision Films have been in the business for ages. They're aware of the problems that Colin talked about, the Hollywood accounting. And, again, we do have a competitor. There are companies like Vintage House. They're sort of the companies that use lawyers, accountants. They're very expensive. There's no incentives for marketing or for us where we want to use a tool like Starwire to gather cast and crew and incentivize them. And again, as Colin shared, we have this solution, the smart contract builder, very simple to use. My mom is, in her late 70s. She can use the smart she can create a smart contract. It's
So Garnet, you're talking about the only competitor you have is this one here, and they're still using that old system of lawyers, that whole system like that. You're talking about doing this on the blockchain, and because I'm familiar with building websites, and you just kind of put pieces in there, and it seems like that's what you're talking about as you're building this out, and you want to get people paid in this manner. You kind of just put the pieces in where you need them. So you're solving it with technology and smart contracts, and your closest competitor is still doing it with the old type system. Is that?
That's right.
Yeah.
As far as we know. And how big can Starwire grow? Like, what is this? And we look at, especially with COVID, the sales of digital movies have been growing and growing. It's $1 billion a quarter industry. And we know the creators aren't seeing this money, and we want to change that. Not just the creators, but think about the fans themselves, who potentially have the opportunity now to own a fractional portion of that favorite movie that's coming out. Now they have the opportunity to own that percentage rate. You know, I know some of you in the listening audience were lining up for the Top Shots, you know, for their chance to get one of those Top Shots NFTs. And in the same way, you know, I see opportunities like that. You know, the opportunity is dropping for this new blockbuster film coming out. You get your chance to own part of it. That's coming, and we want to be part of it. We think it's exciting. I did invite a friend. I'm not sure how our time is. I invited Wes because Wes is very experienced in the film industry. This is kind of part of his credits. He's some of you guys know some of these films. iRobot. Wes has been a visual effects artist. You know, you look through his Stargate, Stargate Atlantis, Star Trek. You know, it just goes on. And Wes, he experienced sort of a bit of a story even within the visual effects industry where Starwire could have helped. Can you give a real brief demonstration or description of how that happened, Wes?
Yeah, I was working on a series a few years back. I've been working.
Yeah, go ahead,
Colin.
Colin. I was going to read some, but yeah, go ahead. There's Wes. There's Wes.
Yeah, somebody just asked it. Let's let Wes get his in, and then we can answer the question after.
Sorry, it kicks me out sometimes. Yeah, so we encountered this problem. I was working on this series where our paychecks became coming in on an irregular basis, and we're wondering what's going on here. And we were given various reasons and all the rest. And when it got to we were owed like thousands of dollars, we were told, well, sorry, but the vendor that we were working for, they're going into bankruptcy. It's like, what? So what are we going to do? So what they were doing, I won't say who they were, but I guess they had a bunch of past debt. And so they were using their money that was coming in from the network, the show that we were working on, to pay their past debts and not paying us. And so once they exhausted all those funds, it's like, oh, now we're in trouble. So had we had something like a smart contract where as soon as the network paid the vendor, we would see money in our account, or that would have been reserved for us, that would have solved that problem. But I'm also excited because I think, you know, as it's becoming easier and easier for people to get into making independent films, gear and everything's becoming so much more accessible. But one of the biggest difficulties is how are you going to get paid from all this? There's a lot of content on the market, and there's a lot of people trying to make stuff and also try to recoup what they invest in a film, and it can be very difficult to do that. And sitting in the producer's seat, looking at, oh, okay, you know, you got to manage all these accounting problems, and working with distributors that, you know, you don't know if you can trust them or not trust them. Accounting is such a big problem that needs to be solved. So I'm excited for what Starwire is doing. I think especially in the independent arena, as that grows, there's going to be much more demand for transparency. And if I work on your film, am I going to get paid? Yeah. That's a big question. So.
Sure. So, Colin, did you want to go back around and we'll, you know, answer some of these in the room here?
Sure.
Can you see them, or should I? Rapid fire. Do a rapid fire. So somebody on here just
could a movie be sold as an NFT? Yes, absolutely. A scene. You know, when you talk about fractional ownership in music, you know, I remember when David Bowie went public, and everybody thought, wow, that's pretty weird. But it's true. We have the opportunities now because we have stable coins. We have crypto where you can actually go down to a micro slice of owning something. So I think Garnet makes a really good point when you introduce this to the new students. I remember when we first learned Photoshop, or for the musicians out there, Pro Tools or Logic, we don't go back and learn something new now because we're so entrenched in the way things work. We want the young students of today to set these things up and do it right from the beginning. So fair is fair. And any of these vision films or these distributors, they'll know that there's a smart contract behind this particular project, whether it's a song or a film. But someone else asked, can you do this in other industries with the smart contract builder? The answer is yes. It's just, how many verticals can we start to scale at once? But my daughter came up with a great idea. She's just got a new dog with her boyfriend. So she wanted what was called a pup nupt. So it's a prenuptial for dog owners. And she said, Dad, can you make that into a smart contract? I said, well, I guess you probably could. So it's there's a lot of use case scenarios for that particular technology. But I think as people get more and more adopting the crypto things, and even in what you guys are doing with DeFi and stuff, and the terminology and tools like Starwire make it easier for people to not have to remember all this stuff. They can follow the prompts and the steps. And we just want to take the real difficult part of it out and make it easy, because we're musicians and creative people. We don't spend all of our days trying to do all this complicated lawyer stuff when we don't have to. Let's just
Yeah.
I like what he said, Edward. The students of today becoming leaders of tomorrow.
Yep.
To answer Kevin's question, he said, can these be used for anything outside of music and film? Definitely. 100%. We're just starting with the industries that we know, and we're applying it to our area of expertise. But
I think that's an excellent strategy. I mean, going into an area, going deep into that area, you have music, you have film, and these are not cottage industries. So you can take this and you can really make this really grow. I think it's a solid application of this sort of technology. And I think the more you get to know this industry with that smart contract builder, the more nuanced set of templates, things that you could ultimately be ready-made to deploy out there, because software industry is rife with some really great options, but nothing like this. I don't think anybody's seen anything like this before.
I think we'll be surprised how creative people get with this.
Mm-hmm.
What we saw people do with Uniswap and took it in hundreds of different directions. I think we'll see with our smart contract builder once it gets into the hands of creative entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
I think we'll be surprised.
I think Vince, you asked the fella Ashtar before a very good question. I think it's we should answer the same question as about what do you have in terms of joint ventures and partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been dealing with some of the major music record labels. Some of the biggest producers in the world, they are just craving this product because it pushes all their buttons. And when we talk about disrupting an industry, it's a little different than disrupting it by taking people's jobs away. And a lot of times that's what people think. They feel threatened. But in this case, this is giving the power back. And that's what so many people want. They want to be able to know that they can use this technology without being, a techno geek. They can actually just use it and get the result. So we have I can't tell you the names of the large companies and labels and partnerships that are on the board right now. But as we start to move into our next phase of development, where we have a private beta that we can actually get in the hands of people, then we'll start to show the results of that. But everything from performance rights organizations like BMI and ASCAP and SOCAN and all down the list, we're working with some of these organizations to see how we can facilitate this real problem that exists out there. And we just haven't really had this crypto technology to really solve it, and now we do. So I don't even feel like it's a race. I think this is going to be something that's so commonplace, within the next 5 to 10 years. That wasn't it always like that,
Right. Yep.
I've got a
You can
question
just
for you.
okay.
I've got a question for you, Colin. if you're taking these smart contracts, how big is your legal team that created this smart contract? Because you're going to be going up against studios which have their own legal teams, and other agents and everything that have legal teams. So, you know, you're going to get guys that are going to try and pick that apart or something like that. Who helped you
Yeah,
create
you
that
have to
contract? And go ahead.
think of it a little different, because it's really like taking a photocopy of what's already there. So we're not creating the contracts specifically. We're not providing legal teams to people to do that. You take your existing contracts that you have and you put them into this system and create it, and so it goes onto the blockchain. When Garnet was referring to the revenue simulator, where you don't need accountants and middlemen and whatnot, that's more of a simulator. That punches in the amount of money, how long it's going to take, what the distributor's cut is, who you're going to pay along the way, who gets an equity position in your film, or who's just work for hire. You know, like in Wes's case, if he was work for hire, but he's got this contract that says he gets paid before you start paying your debts. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So I don't know if that answered your question, but we're not the legal team. We are just the software, the tool. Just like if you were going to make a WordPress or a website, you know,
it executes the contract.
Code executes.
I get it.
The code is the judge, the lawyer, and everything.
That's right.
It's like,
So you're actually empowering the legal team.
Yeah. Yep.
Got it.
No, and this is what we've been trying to tell the community. I mean, I really appreciate it, Colin, Garnet, Wes, the Starwire team. I mean, this is an industry that needs disruption, and you know, this is what we told the community to swarm, that we've been getting going here. That what's behind and what's these projects are all about. And I mean, that's incredible, because it is. I mean, you hear it all the time, pirating music. I mean, you know, they've been doing it for a while, and artists and everybody get hosed. And I mean, that's not how things should work. So I mean, it's a noble thing too. It's not just about making money. It's awesome that what you're trying to do for the industry and get people back in control of what they do and their work and their art. So, you know, I just really want to thank you guys for spending a Tuesday night with us. And, you know, I hope we can loop back around and go a little deeper. So I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Really.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. Thanks, Tim. Great to be
Garnet,
part.
I think this should be a class at your film school. Music rights using, you know, a smart contract builder. That should be a course.